Hi, this is Dennis Pegden, CEO of Simio. Welcome to this tutorial on building a Tandem server. This is an example of how you as a user can create your own object from existing objects in the library based on the concept of composition. In composition, what we do is we combine objects together to represent a new object. Object definitions have three primary components. The first is a model, and that model can either be built using objects, as we're going to do in this example, or with processes, as we do with the lathe example. The other two components are the interface that defines the properties. It may also define states and events, and the external view that gives the graphical appearance of the object for the user that places it in their model. It also defines entry and exit nodes into and out of the object. Object definitions can also have an optional dashboard to display dynamic information. To create an object definition, we simply add an interface and external view to any model that we build. So let's build our little example here. In our example, we're going to have two servers in tandem, that is in series, with no buffer space in between. So it's going to be built as a server, a connector, and a server. It's going to have properties for the processing time on the first and second server. So jumping into Simio here, what we do is, the first thing we do is we go to the Home tab and create a new model. And we're going to rename that model Tandem Server. So this is like a submodel to our main model at this point. Okay, now I'm going to open up the external window for this model. And I'm going to place some symbols. I'll place the symbol that represents a server. And then I'll place it again so that we have what appears to be a tandem server. And then I'm going to put an external node down on both sides, on the in and exit sides. I'm going to rename this one Input, and rename this one Output. The node class for this output guy is going to be a transfer node, so that's the basic behavior that that node will have. And then this node, we're going to give it the behavior of the class basic node. Okay, now let me go back to the Tandem Server Facility view, and we'll build the model of that Tandem server. So it's going to be a server, another server, and a connector in between. And then we want to set the output buffer for server 1 to 0, and the input buffer to server 2 to 0, so we have no buffer space between the two servers. And that way the second server is going to completely block the first server if he is busy. Okay, now the other thing we want to do is we want to create properties for this object that are passed in to define the processing times. So we'll create a new processing time 1 property that sets the processing time for the first server, and we'll right click on the second one, naming it processing time 2 for the second server. So what we've done here is create two properties for this object that are passed down into the processing times for each server. Now on the node here, we're going to click on auto transfer to true to parent external node and specify the output node. So what that's doing is when the entity arrives at this node, he's going to leave through the parent output node. Now going back to the external view of this object, here's the output node where he's going to leave. The other thing we're going to do is when entities arrive to this input node, we're going to specify that it goes to the facility node, and the node we want to go to is input node at server 1. Now the last thing we'll do is we'll add some animated cues to this guy. Put one on the first server, and we'll animate the server 1 processing, and then we'll add one to this guy, and we'll animate server 2 processing. Okay, so now we're actually ready to use this guy that we just built. So we'll bring in a source, we'll bring in a sink from the standard library, and we'll bring in a Tandem server that we just built. And now let's connect these up with paths. And let's start the model running. And we'll switch it over to 3D. We can rotate it around, look at it from different directions, and we see that the entities are being processed through the Tandem servers, first through the first server, then through the second server. Okay, so that's a quick look at how you build your own Tandem server object and then use that within a model. We encourage you to continue on with the tutorials, and if you have any questions, give us a call. We'd be happy to give you an online demo that would show how Simio can be used in your own applications. Thank you.